flows are recorded right here. We meet David at age 15 when God has turned his back on King Saul's reign. And he tells Samuel, go to the house of Jesse, and one of his sons is going to be our next king. And David was so overlooked even by his father that when Samuel gets there and he says, gather all your sons, Jesse doesn't gather David. That won't give you a complex. That won't need marriage counseling or family counseling, not marriage counseling, but some family counseling at all. Thanks, Dad. And as soon as he walks in the house, God said, that's the one. Anoint him. And I've always pictured that he walks in and Samuel's, all right, let's anoint him. And they have to move the kitchen table out of the way. And right there in the kitchen, right there on his mom's freshly mopped linoleum floor, Samuel pours oil over his head and anoints him as the next king of Israel at 15 years old. So naturally, he became king at 15 years old. Oh, wait, he didn't. Naturally, he became king when he was 16 years old. Oh, no, he didn't. Naturally, he became king after he killed Goliath. Oh, no, he didn't. He's anointed at 15 years old. He becomes king over his own tribe after the death of Saul at age 30 years old. 15 years later. That's the first time anyone acknowledges him as king. And it's only his own tribe. It's only the tribe of Judah. His capital is not Jerusalem. His capital is not Bethlehem. His capital is Hebron. And 7 more years of civil war before he is 37 years old when he is actually crowned king over all of Israel. 22 years. He waited after he was anointed to be king longer than he waited before he was anointed king in his life. And in between those years, God brings him into Saul's court to prepare him. He goes through the highs of killing Goliath while he was still a shepherd and sit by his dad to go check on his brothers who were fighting in the war against the Philistines. He was brought into the court. He was brought into Saul's own house. And his first wife was Saul's own daughter. His best friend in life was Saul's own son, Jonathan. I wonder how many times did King Saul look at David and call him my son? How many times did he walk up to David and Jonathan as their close friends and say, there's my boys? I wonder how many times he walked into the throne room, coming home victorious after another battle with the Philistines, and get accommodations, respect, acknowledgments from the throne. I wonder what went through David's mind the first time he escaped the throne room after King Saul tried to kill him with a spear. I wonder what the conversation was with his wife, Saul's daughter. The heartbreak after the second time that King Saul tries to kill him again in the throne room with a spear. And that conversation and that plan that Jonathan and David set up to see if it's really okay or if he really is going to have to run. The last 7 years of Saul's life. From age 23 to 30, David ran and hid in caves, just like Elijah, from his own king. But this time, for David, it was also his father-in-law. For this time, for David, it was also a father figure, a mentor. Through Elijah and through David, we find that definition of perseverance. And I want to read that to you. Perseverance is the persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. Doing something despite the difficulty or delay in achieving success. The persistence. The never stopping in trying to do something that God has called us to do, no matter the difficulty or the delay in success. After that moment that David is crowned king over his tribe of Judah, and he sets up his capital in Hebron, he is king for 40 years. And he becomes one of the most powerful and well-known kings in all of the world. Perhaps only eclipsed by his son Solomon. Elijah was called by God to be a prophet to the northern kingdom of Israel. It's hard to say whether he was successful or not. And I wonder if he would say he was successful or not. We know that the northern king of Israel, or the northern kingdom of Israel, is swept away by the Assyrians in 722 BC. Never to be seen, or never to be regathered as a kingdom, or as a nation, or as a country ever again. Persisting in what you are called to do, despite how hard it is, or the delay in success. I wonder what David was thinking as he was knelt there on the linoleum floor, being anointed by Samuel. I wonder if he thought, wow, this is really cool. I wonder if he thought, well, what is going to happen with the other guy? I wonder if he thought, what if the other guy finds out? That would make him a target if Saul ever found out. They didn't give up, no matter how hard it got or how long it took. In the good and in the bad, they found contentment. And perseverance and contentment go hand in hand with each other. On top, we always want to bask in that moment, but we can't. We have to keep moving. In our low points, we never want to stay there. We always want to get back to the top. But in our low points is when it's easiest to walk away. In those moments, in between what is written down for David, those battlefield victories, we see the celebrations and the songs that the Israelites sang as they welcomed him back into Jerusalem through the eyes of Saul, and how it caused him to be jealous. We don't have those same songs and those same celebrations written down through the eyes of David. I've always wondered, in those moments where he's sleeping in a cave, fearing for his life, did those celebrations still ring in his ears that motivated him? Those days are coming again. You have been anointed the next king of Israel. Those days are coming again. Don't give up. Or if I wonder if those celebrations echoed through his ears as cold, hard reminders of the way it used to be. Perseverance and contentment go hand in hand. In those good, we've got to keep moving, because there's more of those good moments coming. There's more of those celebrations coming. Little is much when God is in it. Those moments when Paul was healing from those shipwrecks, healing from those attempts on his life. Did he say, I mean to keep on going? We have had mountaintop experiences the last couple of weeks here in this sanctuary. Beautiful moments, beautiful services, celebrations of God's goodness and blessings on our lives, but we've got to keep on going. And we know that in those moments of good, life can come at us fast. And we can find ourselves off the mountain and in the valley very quickly. I wonder if Paul was still saying a prayer of thankfulness that God had spared him yet again from a shipwreck. If he was in the middle of a prayer thanking God for his goodness, when that viper jumped out from those logs and bit him on the hand. Life can come that fast. Thankful to be alive, in a split second fearing his life again. What a day. I know what you're thinking. I'm thinking the same thing. We've talked about Paul. We've talked about Elijah. We've talked about David. But what does that do for me? What do I take from this? I want to remind you of something. I want to remind you of something that you committed yourself to. You sang it, and I sang it this morning. And I bet that when you sang it, you meant every word of it. Just like I did. I bet when you sang it, you weren't thinking about what could come. You weren't thinking about what could happen before you get home today. About what could happen the next time the phone rings. What could happen the next time you go to the doctor. The next time life jumps up and throws you a curveball. This is what you said. This is what you committed to. I mean to go right on until the crown is won. I mean to fight the fight of faith till life on earth is done. Should opposition come, should foes obstruct my way, do you think David was expecting his own mentor to be the one that throws the spear? The man that gave his daughter to him in marriage, the one that brought him into his family. I'm sure if you sat him down and said, who's the one that's going to try to kill you? He'd have said Goliath's brothers. He'd have said the Philistines. I wonder if he would have said King Saul. It's easy to see the enemies coming when you know they're enemies. Elijah, who's going to want to be the one that wants you dead? The prophets of Baal. Baal's followers. Someone that I taunted or embarrassed up there on Mount Carmel. I wonder if he would have said my own king, my own queen. Should opposition come, should foes obstruct my way, should persecution fires be lit as in the ancient day, I see a shining crown awaiting over there. I see a mansion all prepared and decked with beauties rare. Folks, the only way you lose is if you quit. Wednesday night, I shared with you a conversation that we had with Isaiah's friend. And the fear as a 17-year-old he has about being able to keep on fighting when it gets so hard in life. I told you about that conversation that I had with my dad as a teenager about wondering why God doesn't just take us home right off the mountaintop of salvation. The only way to lose is if you quit. Whether you quit on the mountaintop or whether you walk away when it gets too hard in the valley. Whether you're on top or whether you're in the valley, keep on going until the end. Keep on going until whether God calls you home or Jesus comes to get you. Keep on going. Don't quit. Don't quit. This morning, you're going to find your place. You're going to find out where you're at somewhere where we've talked about today. Some of us could be on top right now. Some of us could be absolutely in the basking glory of victory. And that's fantastic. We celebrate with you. Some of us can find ourselves on a plateau. I have not gained ground, but I've not lost ground. I cannot find my place. I don't know how to go further, but I know I don't want to go back. I don't see the light. I don't see the point. I don't see my next step. I can't remember what victory feels like. It's been so long. Look around you. That's where the most beautiful growth takes place. In the valleys. In the shadows. In those deep places that you find that God has already been there and He is sustaining you just like He sustained Elijah, just like He sustained David, just like He sustained Paul to the point that he could write this down. Whether I'm on top of the mountain or in the deep, dark valley, I'm content because the strength that comes from God will help me overcome anything that life throws my way. Philippians 4:12 and 13. The gospel according to Pastor Jared. But let me say it this way. I've learned how to be quite content whatever my circumstances. I'm just as happy with little as with much as with little. I found the recipe for being happy, whether full or hungry, hands full or hands empty. Whatever I have, wherever I am, I can make it through anything in the one who makes me who I am. Philippians 4, verses 12 and 13 from the Message. Whether your hands are full, it can be what carries you through when you can't take another step, when you're afraid to take another step, when you don't know where to take another step. You find contentment through perseverance. You find that peace in the midst of the chaos by never giving up. Let's stand and pray. Lord God, I thank you for this day. I thank you for those moments when I can't take another step. You lead me. You carry me. You guide me. I pray for the ones right now that are on the mountaintop and we celebrate your as they begin